I have in front of me here a range of passive splitters that are available on the tvtrade.ie website. The reason we like these splitters is that they're relatively low cost, they come with F connections, and they have low levels of loss on them, so they're quite practical to use. Okay, so they come in a range here, and we've the first one here, it's a simple single input from an aerial and run it to 2 rooms. The next one is a 3-way output, a 4-way output, a 6-way output, and an 8-way output. Anything larger than that probably won't be overly practical, simply because the signal loss will become larger. So what I want to look at here is how will this operate. Well, in terms of the range that it can handle anywhere from 5 up to 1000 megahertz, which will cover the full UHF spectrum and the VHF spectrum as well, and a little bit more. So what we have here is, if you can imagine outside on our roof, we'd have a UHF aerial which we're running a cable directly into our house and feeding a single television. But we might come along and make a decision. What we'd like to do now is we'd like to run it to 2 televisions. Well, what we certainly don't want to do is put up a second aerial. So if we have a good strong signal, it should be possible simply to get this aerial here, screw this in like this into the input part, and then take an output here from it. Here. So what we can do here is we can split this off to 2 televisions. So we could have a cable running from here, and let's say a coaxial type connector that you see here, and would feed that directly into a SareView television, or if you don't have a SareView television, you'd be able to use it in conjunction with something like a SareView type set-top box here for the Irish digital channels. So we can repeat this process. So I would find generally, if we have a good UHF aerial on our roof, we'll be able to split it 2, 3, and maybe up to 4 ways. After that, with a 6-way or an 8-way splitter, you probably want a very, very good signal coming in. Now, I'm going to give limitations of how you can't use this and alternatives to it. Okay, if we have a situation where on our roof, next to our area, we're using, we'll say, feeding the area directly into a master amplifier, which is being used, powered by a power unit like this, we can't put a passive splitter in between the power unit and the master amplifier, because if we do, there's no power passing feature on this, and it'll actually kill the signal going to the UHF aerial, and we'll end up with absolutely 0 signal coming in. In such a scenario, we'd need to use our power passing range of splitters, and that's one that we've implemented there, for instance. Okay, but interestingly, just say we wanted to amplify the signal and give it quite strong, if we put this power unit into the attic and then put the passive splitters after the power unit, it'll work perfectly well. Now, another thing that we might use this for is, if we're in a scenario where we want to run to a large number of televisions, we'll say 3, 4, 5, and we're pretty sure that the signal is marginal to start with, and we're a little bit nervous about using passive splitters here. What we can actually do is we can come along and use a power distribution system here, which will actually take an input from the UHF aerial, and then it'll feed it up to 4 televisions, or in this case here 8 televisions here. It comes in both a coaxial and also an F-type, and goes from 2 all the way up to 8 ways. So that's the full range there. But the passive splitters here, they are very popular because, you know, they work extremely well. If we have a reasonably good signal running off a couple of televisions, it'll work well, and it's a very, very low cost way of coming to that solution. In addition to this here, you'll obviously need to buy the F-type connectors, which we have, just an example here. There's an F-type connector on here, so that just screws on, and that's why it gives such a good connection on it. So that's an overview of passive splitters available on the tvtrade.ie website.